We will now commence our valedictory session. I'm pleased to welcome back Professor David B. Wilkins, Lester Kissel Professor of Law and Vice Dean, Harvard Law School, Professor Dr. C. Raj Kumar, Founding Vice Chancellor, OP Jindal Global University and Dean Jindal Global Law School, Professor Dr. Mohan Kumar, Dean and Director, Jindal Global Center for G20 Studies, and Professor Dabiru Sridhar Patnaik, Registrar, OP Jindal Global University. I request Professor David B. Wilkins to please present the special address.
Very long day, but it's been a thrilling day. I have to say, I've been to many conferences at many venues around the world, including many recently on this issue. I can say without qualification that this has been the best, most substantive event of its kind that I've had. So thank you all very much. Each and every speaker has been substantive, people have been candid, people have raised real concerns. In fact, it's been so good that Raj and I are talking about trying to perhaps print transcripts and summarize it and put it in something that could be put to the world, as well as the video. And we'll be back in touch to think about that. But I just want to say a very few things in conclusion here, that first and foremost, as good as this is, this must be just the beginning of the conversation. We're already planning a G20 conclave in Brazil in the summer or fall of this coming summer or fall. And it's particularly appropriate because if you've looked at what Brazil said it's doing in the G20, here's what they say. They said in September of 2023, they announced that the theme for the G20 is, quote, building a just world and a sustainable planet. Fighting inequality, promoting social inclusion, fighting hunger, combating climate change, promoting energy transition, sustainability, and reforming global governance institutions. What is that? That is ESG. That's what we're talking about. That is going to be the sole focus of the G20 in Brazil. I told you earlier that we did a big conference at Harvard with 600 people in the fall of 2022 called Reimagining the Role of Business in the Public Square. We're going to do another reprise of that to continue that conversation in 2024. And in 2025, apropos of the last discussion, the G20 moves to South Africa, and we will reprise this conclave in South Africa in accordance with that meeting. And then in 2026, the G20 comes back to the United States, and we're going to do both an event around reimagining business and also this conclave. All of you will be able to follow this on our website here, and we'll make this available to you, as well as our digital magazine I told you about, which you can subscribe for free on our website. But more importantly, we would love to have you be a part of it, to help us plan it, to be a part of it, because that is what makes these meetings so special. Listen, if we're going to do this, we have to think, how do we build a resilient legal profession? The word resilience now has come up in institution building, capacity building. But as the last panel so brilliantly said, lawyers and the legal profession, not just legal institutions and laws and legal systems, are a critical part of resilience that we need to build. And that will mean we're going to have to evolve to meet these new challenges and expectations which we've been discussing. And that means we're going to have to change the way we think about what lawyers do, what legal problems are, which means we have to change, and I'm so glad that law schools like yours and mine were challenged in other panels. What does this mean for legal education? How do we help these brilliant young students? Just think of the question that was just to the courage it took to ask that question, let alone the brilliance of that question. But how do we develop them? How do we train them to be a part of these important issues all around the world, including Africa, and we cannot emphasize that enough. Look, it's not going to be easy, okay? We are, when things get too hard, what do? We just revert to the old ways of doing, and this is particularly true for lawyers, because in the common law world like ours, you cannot say anything new in the law until you definitively prove someone already said it before. It's not exactly a growth mindset, but that's the way precedent works. And when I say this, people in civil law countries laugh, but they can't say anything new unless Napoleon said it, okay? But we're going to have to get over that because we need to evolve. Now, history shows us this isn't going to be easy. Notwithstanding all of the trauma and the hardship of the last few years, moving beyond, thinking new ideas, changing institutions and laws is going to be difficult. But I think we could draw some inspiration from great leaders in the past. So to take a point of personal privilege and talk about a leader who was formative in my life, in my early life, it's President John F. Kennedy, who was tragically assassinated in 1963. But before he died, and as the world was emerging from the last global crisis, right? Just as we are emerging from the current global crisis, that was World War II and the Depression, he challenged Americans to understand that they stood on the edge of what he called a new frontier, beyond which stood uncharted areas of science and space, unsolved problems of peace and war, unconquered problems of ignorance and prejudice, unanswered questions of poverty and surplus. We have to be honest. These challenges are still with us today. And in many ways, they've only intensified. And for all of its great ability to lift more than 1 billion people out of poverty, globalization, technological change, all the things we are talking about also have increased inequality and poverty in ways that we have to acknowledge. And all of these issues, our whole conference has been about, are increasingly landing on the desks of lawyers, whether that's in companies, in law firms, in government, in public interest organizations, NGOs, whatever. But here's the point I want to leave you with. Confronting hard challenges is what brings out the best in us. Look, developing new ideas while ensuring that we preserve the best of our traditions around the rule of law, around access to justice, is going to require incredible time and attention from all of us. But again, we can draw inspiration from President Kennedy, who emphatically declared when he launched the outrageous, audacious idea that we were going to land a man on the moon within a decade, he said, "We chose to go to the moon in this decade and to do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." In 1969, less than a decade, only 6 years after Kennedy issued this challenge, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. And when he did, when he took his first step, he famously said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." So, my friends, it's time for all of us to boldly leap into the hard work of confronting the challenges of ESG we've been discussing today. And if each of us makes the commitment that by the time we gather in 2026, when the G20 is back in my country, and we've had these other meetings, that we not only will have made progress on these issues, but we'll be doing so in a manner that creates a genuinely new frontier of sustainability, social justice, and fair governance for all of the world's 8 billion people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Wilkins, for your wonderfully encouraging conclusion. And I request Professor Dr. Mohan Kumar to please share his remarks.
So this is a tough act to follow. He sat through the whole day, so did I, but I don't know how to use the PowerPoint like you do. And after every meeting, you just come up with this amazing PowerPoint. But anyway, I'll try to take off from where he left. I believe the OP Jindal Global University has also taken a giant or a great leap for the legal profession in the country by having this seminar. I think it's quite amazing. I learned some new words, SUNICON. I did not know what that meant. And somebody talked of inclusive green finance. So I would request whoever is taking the records, as I said, to kind of submit it to us after due diligence. I think after passing it through Raj and David, we will try to pass it on to the Brazilians, who, as I said, will have their own conference. Since there was a profound conspiracy to prevent me from asking questions to any panel, let me pose those issues and close. So point number one, which I wanted to, and I still find that legal experts are still there, so thank you very much for staying back. Point number one is that 15 years ago, when I was negotiating with the Americans on the services agreement, they wanted the legal profession in India to be opened up. And like a blithering idiot, I told them, no problem, I will go back and consult my authorities. Obviously, I was not in the pay grade where I could have said yes. I came back and I told my people that we could consider it. They said, are you crazy? There is no way the Indian legal profession is going to open up for foreign competition. I Googled, and you guys can correct me, it's only March 2023 that the Bar Council of India has allowed foreign firms to operate. And you guys are waxing eloquent about India not meeting global standards. How the hell will you meet global standards if you don't open up to foreign presence here? So I have that gripe, frankly. I think we could have done this 10 years ago, maybe not 20 years ago when I was still negotiating. But why did we delay this so much? This is a conversation I'd like to have, maybe the next seminar or whenever. It's only last year that we have opened up, and for me that's too damn late, frankly. Second, on investment, what I understand from the Ministry of Commerce people is that every single foreign arbitration we have lost. Can you believe it? On FDI, every single arbitration case has been lost by India, which is why we are against any bilateral investment treaty which has that foreign arbitration clause. And that is a shame as well. And of course, you know how some people in India are. There is a conspiracy against India. That's a load of BS, and you know it, I know it. Come on. You can't lose every case and then tell me that, there is a conspiracy. That is something that we should think about as well. Like I said, I wanted to raise this earlier, but these things are worth looking at as well, because I believe, in addition to everything else, there should be a fair degree of introspection about how we are doing within the country. But thank you so much. It's been a fascinating day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for leaving us with some food for thought. I now invite Professor Dabiru Sridhar Patnaik, Registrar, OP Jindal Global University, to please address the audience.
Thank you so much, Surabhi. First of all, I must confess that I haven't been a part of this conference throughout the day, but I just had the opportunity to join towards the end of the last panel discussion, and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations by Sridhar, Raja, and other colleagues, moderated by Nemika. Well, what is so very particular about this conference to me is that while we are all aware about the G20 as a grouping of nations, and there were so many issues that have been discussed, and there are issues pertaining to every aspect that has been touching human life, but nonetheless, nothing can work in a vacuum and in a legal vacuum. So I'm so glad to see that all of us together, the OP Jindal Global University, the Jindal Global Law School of the university, and the G20 Center of the university, in association with the Harvard Law School and the American Bar Association, we have come together to have these conversations to fill that particular vacuum and to see how we can align the principles and the ideas that have emerged from the discussions today and even from the lecture delivered by Professor David Wilkins yesterday. They can contribute to the learnings and even to see how even nations and even the private actors who are part of this entire endeavor can learn from these initiatives to build their capacities. So that's where this particular conference becomes very important, and even as a run-up to the further discussions which Professor David Wilkins mentioned. So it's a very good contribution that way, and I'm glad to be a part of this initiative along with each one of you. But nonetheless, an initiative of this nature would not have been possible without the participation efforts and leadership of many individuals and many institutions. So the list is comprehensive, but I would like to thank a few individuals, both in a personal and also in a representative capacity, who led the conference to its logical conclusion and to its success. And in particular, I must place on record my appreciation and gratitude to the Vice Chancellor for leading this initiative, and to Professor David Wilkins from the Harvard Law School for his contributions in terms of the ideation of this conference and even the intellectual contributions that he had made, and the work that he has been a guiding force to all of us as part of the Center on Legal Profession. I also take this opportunity to thank my dearest colleagues, Professor Mohan Kumar, who is the director of the Jindal Center for G20 Studies, and Professor Sridhar, who is the Executive Dean of the Jindal Global Law School, and Professor Nimika Jha, Professor Padmanabha Ramanujam, Professor Siddharth Chauhan, and in particular, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi for his support and for his inspiration in ensuring a successful conference of this nature. And I also wish to thank all the speakers who not only took out time, but they participated in this conference with such great enthusiasm that really added to the spirit and objectives of this particular conference. So a big round of appreciation and applaud to all our distinguished speakers of this conference. And last but not the least, we are grateful to the American Bar Association for their collaboration with the university in organizing this conference. And in particular, we are grateful to Ms. Pratibha Jain, who is the chair of the American Bar Association India Committee, for her contributions and leadership to this particular conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. As we close the valedictory session, I invite Professor Dr. C. Raj Kumar, Founding Vice Chancellor, OP Jindal Global University, to please share the way forward and concluding remarks.
Well, I just want to say that it's been an absolutely delightful day for all of us. One of the reasons why this conclave has ended up being so successful is that we brought in so many people representing different constituencies. While the leadership of the conference was led by two universities, two law schools, Harvard Law School and Jindal Global Law School, we brought in people representing so many different constituencies. There were, of course, many professors and educationists, but there were people who have had long experience working in law firms as partners and senior leadership. There were people working as in-house counsels in corporations and companies and business enterprises. There were litigating lawyers who also spoke at the conference. Among the participants, there were so many diplomats. We had a very significant representation from both the Embassy of the People's Republic of China as well as Indonesia. And of course, we've had students. So the entire experience of being in this conclave enabled us to have this conversation. We also have opportunity to proceed forward with some of the ideas that Professor David Wilkins said when it comes to the future itself. I also want to mention that for all the students who are present here, I think what you got to experience today, in many ways, you may not be able to do it in an isolated manner, even if you end up studying a couple of courses, because the diversity of the kind of panels, the vast experience of these individuals who ended up reflecting on it, it was thought-provoking, it was engaging, it was candid, it was honest, and it also appreciated complexity. That takes me to the point about complexity itself, that we are increasingly living in that complex world, and David talks about the VUCA world, volatile and uncertain and complex and ambiguous world. But one of the challenges that all of us are facing in universities around the world is that how do we navigate complex issues and engage in meaningful discussions among students and faculty. The world is divided today with at least two major conflict situations, but also with the latest bomb blast in Russia, it only creates even more polarized environment for us to have any meaningful discussions. So I want to exhort the students, the faculty, and the young people, especially in this room, to recognize that when you are engaging in, let's say, addressing some of these complex issues, try to develop a deeper sense of nuanced approach and understanding while responding to these issues. Knee-jerk reactions, sweeping generalizations, and even well-intentioned, effort to, lend your support to causes that are out there requires a more careful deliberation. And that's what a good university education ought to be providing. And I must confess that in this entire discourse, I am very sad to say that most educational institutions around the world, including the best of the institutions, have by and large failed in ensuring that this discourse and the debate surrounding these issues can be responded better. If there are lessons to learn, it is only that we understand these complexities and work harder towards bringing these issues to our discussion forums, both within the classroom and outside. But the heart of those discussions require a greater degree of humility, and it requires intellectual honesty and sincerity and intellectual integrity, also a courage of conviction, but also some degree of recognition that we may not have answers to all the problems out there. I think we and intellectuals and educationists also need to take a fair amount of blame that we should be able to say more often that we simply don't know the answer to some of these questions while we work hard to find those answers. Determinism of any kind when it comes to providing answers to complex issues only leads to a further polarized environment, especially among the young people who are themselves struggling to find their own moral compass when it comes to dealing with these issues. So I want to say that. I want to thank all of you for your patience. My chief of staff and I were talking about the fact that quite rarely, we have a situation where people ended up staying for the entire conclave, most of them. And of course, all our students ended up just being there and quietly participating in their own way. So all of you deserve great credit for being here, and I know for sure that you enjoyed that. I want to end by saying that I have a small gift for all of you. I have requested Ambassador Mohan Kumar to treat us with one French song which he is going to sing for us before we wind up this day's proceedings. Over to you, Ambassador Mohan.
So all of you are familiar with Stevie Wonder, right? Yeah. Excellent song. I just called to say I love you. But actually, I discovered recently, and this is because the Vice Chancellor keeps surprising me like this, why don't you do that? I'm sick and tired of singing the same song myself. So actually I learned this. Actually, it's a very recent song I learned, but actually I discovered the French version is way better than the English version sung by Stevie Wonder. So if you allow me, amazing French singer called Sacha Distel, who sings very well. And French is a beautiful language. I was repeatedly sent to Paris only because I committed the sin of mastering the French language. And that was amazing. And the French government, by the way, the Ministry of External Affairs, normally if you speak French, they send you to Moscow. Somebody doesn't want me to sing. Okay. Okay, so without the music, but please bear with me. छोड़ दो यार, background नहीं चाहिए. मैं गा लेता हूँ. Thank you. No, it's okay. C'est pas Noël, c'est pas le printemps, y a pas de bougie, pas de cadeaux sous les rubans, pas de nouvelles sensationnelles. Aujourd'hui est un jour normal, tout simplement. Y a pas d'amis, pas qui se marie, pas de première, pas de soirée d'anniversaire. Mais il fallait que je te dise, je voulais te dire simplement ça. Je t'appelle pour dire que je t'aime, je voulais te dire simplement ça. Je t'appelle pour dire que je t'aime et je chante au profond de moi. Je t'appelle pour dire que je t'aime. Je voulais que dire simplement ça. Thank you.
All right, Mohan, I know you did great. Thank you so much. Since almost everybody would like you to sing a Hindi song, I'm going to invite you to have it. With that,
Actually, I made a hash of it. Those of you who know French will know that that's what happens when you learn a song and then you're suddenly asked to sing. But I hope I'm more comfortable with this one. You have to take a chance, right? I mean, these things don't always work out perfectly, even for ex-diplomats. Never mind. Never mind. ये रातें, ये मौसम, नदी का किनारा, ये चंचल हवा. ये रातें, ये मौसम, नदी का किनारा, ये चंचल हवा. कहा दो दिलों ने कि मिलकर कभी हम न होंगे जुदा. ये रातें, ये मौसम, नदी का किनारा, ये चंचल हवा. ये क्या बात है आज की चांदनी में. ये क्या बात है आज की चांदनी में. हम खो गए प्यार की रागिनी में. बाहों में बाहें, ये बहकी निगाहें, लो आने लगा जिंदगी का मजा. ये रातें, ये मौसम, नदी का किनारा, ये चंचल हवा. Way before you were born. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohan. That was fantastic. You see, we look for lots of qualifications and competencies in our faculty members. You need to, of course, have a published track record of publications. You need to be a great teacher. You need to have outstanding academic qualifications. But you also should be able to do other things like what Mohan does. So thank you so much. Surabhi, you want to close? Yeah.
Thank you so much for that wonderful musical conclusion. And thank you to each one of you for being present here today for this wonderful conclave. Please take care and have a great festive weekend to everyone celebrating. Thank you.